historian, this story is a tremendous pleasure for me because for two reasons. The first one is it's very rare, particularly with the subject of the Holocaust, which we all know is so unutterably grim and depressing, literally. When you read about the Holocaust, the darkness descends. It is the most horrific chapter in human history. And to find a story like this, which is a positive story from the Holocaust, is a positive story of rescue, and for no other reason other than care for your fellow man, is a truly remarkable thing. There are other examples in the history of the Holocaust, but this one is one that, as you'll hear, up until about 5 years ago was more or less unknown. And that leads me to my second joy, really, of this subject, which is that this is a developing story, as a journalist would say. This is a story that is not, cut and dried, and hasn't been talked about endlessly in the sort of academic literature on the history that's already been written. It's very much one that is being researched and happening almost as we speak. And you'll hear from Monika later on when we talk about what research is being done at the moment to find new names to add to the Ładoś list and so on. So it's really very exciting for both of those reasons to be involved in this. And I should add, Monika is very much the expert in this. She's been working on this for many years along with the Pilecki-Institut.
You've seen this on the exhibition, but I will tell you more about Paraguayan passports. It looks different than today's passports. It's very huge. It's a passport not for one person, but for the whole family. But it was different. Sometimes it was for one person, and sometimes for even seven members of the family was in the passport, which I saw.
On a personal note, I think as a historian, I'm going back to what I said at the beginning, which is how exciting it is to be working on a project that is as fresh as this is, and literally, new sort of stories and new discoveries every day, which is very exciting on the one hand. On the other hand, it's kind of daunting because as trying to write this and create a coherent narrative out of it, you don't know where the story's going. When you write the 150th book about the dam busters, you know very well where the story's going because 150 people have written about it already. If you're the first person writing a book about this, it's actually quite a difficult thing, so in that sense it's very exciting, it's also quite daunting. But on a broader sense, I think Poland to some extent has a sort of bad reputation, particularly with the wartime period, particularly with anti-Semitism. And this is I think, very timely and appropriate counterbalance to some of that, to show the Polish diplomats of the Ładoś Group, the three diplomats and Polish Jewish employee, Łukasz Kuhl, were willing to go the extra mile to save lives on a purely humanitarian operation. It's thoroughly admirable. There was no financial inducement for them. They didn't benefit out of this personally. They all found themselves sidelined at the end of the war. The communists come to power in Poland. They all find themselves essentially out of work. Rokicki, for example, ends up in poverty, dies in poverty in the 1950s in Switzerland, never left Switzerland. And they were lost to history. They were unknown until comparatively recently. So I think that's a really interesting counterbalance and timely counterbalance to that sort of narrative of Poland being associated with all the worst aspects of the Holocaust and of German occupation. So it's as I said at the beginning, it's a rare positive story from the Holocaust.
What is also unique in this story, because we have Wallenberg, we have we have other consuls, diplomats, yeah? In this case, those were 6 different people from different society, ultra-Orthodox, Zionists, and Polish diplomats, and they were cooperating together. That's a really unique thing, and they were aiming the same thing. They were aiming saving Jews, yeah, in humanitarian reasons. And the last thing I want to tell you before we finish, we have a website, passportforlife.com. You can see it on the screen, and you can find there many stories of people who survivors wrote them themselves. You can also see there the Ładoś list and some faces. There's near the Ładoś list there are faces. Those are faces which are on the exhibition. Those are faces of people who tried to receive the passport, but because of the death of Khan Ice, they didn't receive those passports, so probably most of them didn't survive. But we are still looking for more information about